So you are planning to visit China and you are thinking to get a Chinese phone number to make your trip easier. But then the next question is, how do you actually get one as a foreign visitor? Because it is where a lot of people start imagining the worst. They think, will the shop accept my passport? Do I need to speak Chinese? Can I buy it at the airport? Does my phone even work with a Chinese SIM card? And what if I go through the whole process only to realize I bought the wrong setup? So in this video, I'm going to walk you through it clearly, what to prepare before your trip, where to get a SIM card in China, what documents you need, what to expect at the store, and how to make sure it actually works before you leave the counter. Alright explorers, time to projecting. For those who are new here, my name is Lee, and this channel is here to help travelers explore China with less frictions. So consider subscribe if you would like to receive the latest information regarding China travel. Now let's talk about how to actually get a Chinese SIM card and local numbers as a tourist. Because honestly, this process is not as scary as people think, but it does become stressful when you arrive unprepared. Yes, travelers can get a Chinese SIM card in China. This is not some special resident-only thing. Tourists and short-term visitors can also get one. But the process is not the same as grabbing a cheap SIM from a convenience store shelf in some other countries. In China, SIM cards are tied to real name registrations. This means the number needed to be registered to your identity. So as a visitor, the key document to bring is usually your passport. If you decide you want a Chinese number, do not treat it like a casual last-time purchase. Treat it like a small setup task. Because once you understand that, the whole process feels much easier. What to prepare before you fly? Before you even get on the plane, there are two very important things you should check. First, make sure your phone is unlocked. If your phone is still locked to your home carrier, then a Chinese SIM card may not work in it at all. And this is one of the most frustrating mistakes people make. They do all the research, they land in China, they buy the SIM, and suddenly they realize the phone itself is the problem. So before you travel, make sure your device is unlocked. A very simple way to check this. If you use an iPhone, go to Settings, then General, then About, and look for Carrier Lock. If it says no SIM restrictions, your phone is unlocked. If you're using Android, the steps can vary by brand. So the simplest thing is check your phone settings for SIM or network lock status. Insert another carrier SIM card if you have one to test it. Or contact your home mobile provider directly and ask whether your phone is unlocked. The small check can save you a lot of stress later. Second, make sure your phone is compatible. Not every phone behaves the same way in every country. So it is worth checking whether your phone works properly with Chinese mobile networks. In general, many international phones do work, but compatibility can vary. And this is one reason China Unicom is often mentioned as a good first option for visitors, because it supports a variety number of phones. So before departure, the checklist should be phone unlocked, phone working properly, SIM tray available if you plan to use a physical SIM card. If you want to use eSIM for other parts of your journey, make sure your phone model supports eSIM, and ideally your essential apps already installed. Because the more you prepare before arrival, the less pressure you feel later. Now let's talk about where to actually get a Chinese SIM card. The most straightforward places are usually official telecom company outlets, and in some cases, airport counters. China's three major carriers are China Mobile, China Unicom, China Telecom. And if you are a visitor, the safest move is usually to go through an official store or official counter, not some random resellers. Because official locations are far more likely to handle passport registration properly, activation correctly, and any problem on the spot. And this point matters. Because if something goes wrong, you want to be standing in front of a staff who can actually fix it. Not someone just sold you a SIM card and disappear. Now, airport counters can be convenient, especially if you want to get connected fast. But city stores can sometimes be a better option if you want a common setup. So if you land tired, rushed, and overwhelmed, the airport may be the easiest. But if you want a more stable and relaxed setup, an official city branch can be a better move. What carriers should foreigners look at first? Now here comes to the obvious question, which carrier should I pick? The three names you will hear most are China Mobile, China Unicom, and China Telecom. For many tourists, China Unicom is often mentioned as one of the more foreign-friendly options because it tends to be more compatible with more international phones. That doesn't mean the other two carriers are unusable. It just means China Unicom is one of the first options travelers look at when they want fewer compatibility surprises. So if you are unsure where to begin, check China Unicom first. But also your option depends on where you're traveling, what plan is available, how long you're staying, and what store can actually help you with the registration. The main goal is to get a legitimate working setup that matches your trip. What documents do you need? The document part is simple. Bring your passport. This is the main thing because of real name registration. The store needs to register the SIM card to your identity. In many cases, staff will scan and check your passport, and then you may need to fill out some details to confirm information during the process. So do not pack your passport in a way that makes it harder to access. If you're planning to use a SIM after arrival, make sure you have it available. And as a general habit, I also recommend having your hotel address handy, keeping your phone charged, and having a translation app ready just in case, because sometimes the process itself is easy, but the communication would take some time. So what actually happens once you walk inside a store? Usually the process is pretty straightforward. You go to the counter, explain that you need a SIM card, show your passport, and then choose a plan. The plan may include mobile data, call minutes, text messages, or a combination of all these. The staff will usually help you to select the package based on your needs, and this is where you should avoid overcomplicating things. If you are a short-term tourist, you probably do not need some huge long-term contract plans or anything fancy. You just need a setup that gives you enough data for maps, translation, payments, and daily use, plus a local number if that is your goal. So the key is to understand what kind of travelers you are and what type of data and phone needs you require during your trip. For example, short-term, medium-term, heavy data user, or light user. Need number mainly for verification or need it for calls? This is the real decision. Now this is a very useful point for visitors. Some cities and stores may offer short-term and prepaid style options that makes more sense for tourists than a standard long plan. But that matters because many travelers are only staying for, say, a week, 10 days, or 2 weeks, maybe a month at tops. So if you are only visiting briefly, ask whether they have short-term packages, tourist plans, or prepaid options for visitors. In other words, do not assume that your only choice is a long-term local setup. There may be a plan that fits your trip much better, and for tourists, that is often the smarter route anyway. What if you do not speak Chinese? Now let's address the fear that a lot of travelers have. What if I do not speak Chinese? The honest answer is sometimes it is still manageable. But yes, language can make the process slower. Some official outlets may have staff who can handle simple English. Others may not. So if your Chinese is completely zero, there are a few smart ways to reduce frictions. Try the airport counter, go to a more central or larger official branch, use a translation app, prepare a simple sentence in Chinese, or ask a Chinese-speaking friend, hotel staff, or local contact to help if needed. And this is not because the process is impossible. It is just because when registration and plan selections are involved, even small misunderstanding can create unnecessary confusion. The more support you have, the smoother it usually feels. What to check before leaving the counter? This part is extremely important. Do not just take the eSIM, say thank you, and walk away. Before leaving the counter, make sure you test the basics. Check that the SIM is inserted properly, your phone detects the network, mobile data is working, you can receive service normally, and if the whole point was to get a local number, make sure the number is actually active, because the worst time to discover a problem is later, when you are already outside, tired, and trying to figure out why nothing works. So test it there, even if it takes extra few minutes. A small setup can save you a lot of frustration later. Now let me quickly go through a few things I would avoid. Do not buy from random unofficial sellers. If you see some strange source selling SIM cards and it feels unclear, be careful. For travelers, official outlets are usually the safest path. Do not assume every SIM card gives you the same thing. Some travelers confuse local SIM card, tourist SIM, data SIM, and eSIM. These are not always the same experience. Do not forget that internet and local numbers are two different setups. The setup that gives you the data is not automatically gives you the same setup as you can get a proper local number for registrations and verifications. Do not skip the unlock phone check. This one causes so many unavoidable problems. And do not wait until your trip is already going wrong if you know that you want a Chinese number. Decide early and set it up properly. So after all this, here's the real question. Should every traveler go through this process? Honestly, no. If your trip is short and your setup has already worked with roaming or eSIM, overseas number, Alipay, maps, and your pre-booked travel tools, then you may not need to bother at all. But if you want a more flexibility, local verification, smoother access to services, or fewer restrictions inside China app ecosystem, and getting a local SIM and number can absolutely be worth it. So once again, this comes down to your travel style. Not every tourist needs the same level of setup. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to give a thumbs up and remember to check my free pre-trip guide, link in the description box down below. Project out for today. I will see you in the next one.